Welcome to another episode of Right Here in Mass. Today's guest is Mike Potenza, a senior marketing manager with nearly 40 years of experience, spending 25 years as a writer, producer, and editor with CBS New York, including 3 years as senior producer of CBS MoneyWatch for broadcast on the web. Mike has since returned home to Cape Cod to work with his childhood friend and restaurant entrepreneur, Tim McNulty of the Lobster Pot in Provincetown, among other businesses. Mike, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me.
My pleasure. Please share more about you and what you do with our audience.
Basically, I'm the marketing director for a group of restaurants here in Provincetown, Massachusetts. We have an additional one out in Wellfleet, which is the next town up the line, and we specialize in seafood, lobster, and the like.
So I'd love to hear, which I think is interesting, that you had worked at CBS in New York, and then you came back home. So what inspired you to move back home to Cape Cod?
Well, I never truly adapted to the New York lifestyle. I'm still a Boston Red Sox guy wearing my hat on the subway and that sort of thing. And the New York mentality is a whole different vibe than Boston or other cities. And one day I was on the subway and it was hot and messy. And I was like, I'm going home. I had enough.
Yeah. And then here you are, you found yourself working with your childhood friend. How did that kind of come about? And what has it been like working with him?
Well, it's actually been a tremendous pleasure and a real boost at the as I get towards the end of what I consider to be the end of my career. The McNulty family and I go way back. We went to school together. We played sports together. I worked in some of their restaurants as a younger man, and then went off to college and pursued my career. But I have an intimate relationship with them going way back.
Oh, nice. So it sounds like it was something that just kind of was natural and seamless with bringing you on to help support everything that they have going on. Because like you mentioned, it's a multiple businesses that they have.
There's a lot to be done, and their management team could have used a little boost of some new energy and some new ideas and just a little bit of a refresh. And I was honored to be asked to participate.
Love that. Could you share more about what you do specifically for them as a director of marketing?
Well, like I said, we have the 3 restaurants, so it's a big push every year to announce the fact that we're opening and maintain our websites and all our social media platforms and continue to feed those with fresh content so that people always have something new and interesting to return to. And it goes all the way to something as simple as little signs that need to be posted around. So it ranges from the electronic world all the way down to the most simplest of tasks to share news about our businesses and the things that we offer.
Out of everything that you do, would you say that you have a specific favorite, something that you enjoy doing the most?
I enjoy the social media aspect of it because it allows us to interact with our customers, and it's all these businesses are family businesses. So to be able to operate in a manner that communicates with your business and your customers together one-on-one like that is a little bit of a special thing. So I answer every single comment, every single post on our behalf, and I make sure that we foster these relationships with our customers because they stick with us over the years as a result.
Yeah, absolutely. Especially for people who might not live on Cape, but might have a house down there that they vacation to every summer, and kind of retaining those people and encouraging them to come back season after season is so important.
Exactly. And a lot of it is communication of basic information. When do you open? When do you close? And that sort of thing. So keeping people informed, but also letting them know the nuances, like you should really try this, or, do we have new drinks this year, or whatever we do to, bring things up to speed for the new season. It's important to convey those messages so people understand it's not the same experience. It's slightly modified each year as we move forward.
Absolutely. And so I kind of imagine that you likely have almost 2 groups of people who go to the restaurants. It's the people who live on Cape or have their own house on the Cape that they visit seasonally, and then people who might book a house on Cape for 1 week and might come with their family. And so how do you attract those visitors who might not be more frequently located on the Cape to know about the restaurants and bring them in addition to focusing on the customers who are always there or always visiting?
Well, it is a variety of people. You're right. There are people who come and stay for the season. We have guests who've been coming here for the last 25 years or more, and it's an annual pilgrimage that they make it a destination to come. And then we have people who come off the boat at the end of the wharf right behind our main restaurant, and they come on the Boston boat for the day just to experience Provincetown and grab a lobster. So to communicate with them, the best way is we're heavy on the visuals. We're always posting fresh pictures almost on a daily basis. And like I said, the communication part, when people respond to them, I respond back. We also follow up heavily on any TripAdvisor and Yelp and all those review sites, Google and such, so that people know when they do have, constructive criticism or a compliment, that it is being heard and it is being responded to.
Absolutely. And so with the multiple businesses that you help manage, how do you juggle it all with being able to dedicate time to all three of them and not feel like that you're dedicating more time to one and taking time away from the other and vice versa?
Well, working in the news for a long time teaches you to multitask under pressure. And
Mm.
so I've brought that as a little special skill set, if you want to call it that, to what I do. But I've also learned from my buddy Tim, who runs these businesses, and he's, says you find one thing, you address it completely, and you move on to the next thing. So it's a combination of multitasking when it's needed and taking care of business at that moment when that's needed.
Yes, absolutely. And I especially love working or speaking to people who work with seasonal businesses, especially who might have a huge uptick in certain times of year, because it's really interesting to think about how you can manage that ebb and flow of when things pick up and get really busy during one part of the year and definitely slow down or even shut down depending on the business at another point in the year. And so how have you been able to kind of manage that with being able to be good at dedicating to those ebbs and flows that might happen?
Well, we are seasonal businesses, but they do require maintenance on a year-round basis. So
Mm.
although we calm down a little bit in the wintertime, we're not quite as a hectic pace. We do have work to do, and we maintain, like I said, those websites and all those other social media and all the communication processes continue, as well as getting the building cleaned up and ready for the winter and ready to go again in the spring. So it's even though it's seasonal, there's always something to be done.
Absolutely. And I love that you mentioned the importance of maintaining consistency with marketing during all year round, because I think sometimes some business owners might forget that if they just kind of shut off and stop posting for 3 or 6 months, people are going to forget about them ultimately once it comes time to open back up again. And so when you maintain that consistency throughout the year, people are always seeing your posts and kind of keeping it in the back of their minds. That way, once things are back up and running again, they're ready to know who they want to support.
You're exactly right. I like to refer to it as in the wintertime, we feed the imagination, and in the summertime, we feed the belly. So we can't put a plate in front of you, obviously, when we're not open, but there's so much that goes on in Provincetown and related to the business or related to the industries that we keep abreast of all those things and try and share a little bit. So it's not a hardcore marketing push. It's really, I keep going back to that word communication, but the idea is to create a rapport with people. And it's
Mm.
not based on buy. It's about, the subtleties of the business or the people that work here or the processes that are attached to it. So it's 80% entertainment and information, 20% buy.
Yep, absolutely. And I unfortunately haven't made my way to the Provincetown part of the Cape, but from what I can see from all the different businesses and organizations a part of it, that it seems like a lot of organizations come together and collaborate, support one another, find ways to mutually benefit one another. And so I'd love to hear if you've experienced that with the three different restaurants, if you've been able to find that collaboration with the other organizations in Provincetown.
Absolutely. We're very tight knit out here on the tip of the Cape, as you might imagine. And we talk about the other businesses. For example, our fish supplier, we went to high school with him and played sports our whole lives.
Oh,
So
I love that.
we're really tight with the people around us because it is a small community, especially in the wintertime when the summer crowds disperse. So
Mm.
our relationships with the people and their businesses are, some of them go back, 45 years or more, that I've been friends with these guys and now they've grown up to take over their family businesses or start their own businesses. But we have personal relationships because we've been hanging out together for the last 40 years on and off.
Yeah. And so there's definitely that, like you mentioned earlier, that rapport of already having those relationships built and knowing that you can trust and depend on the people that you're working with.
It's extremely important, and it goes for our staff as well. Some of them have been coming back here 25 years or more, and their
Mm.
families are part of our family now, and their extended families go out. So we create these personal relationships, and it makes our businesses stronger because, like you mentioned, you have that strength of the rapport you have with those people, but also the confidence in them. When they say something, they're going to do it, just like they know you're going to do what you say.
Absolutely. And one thing that definitely sets the Cape apart from other regions in Massachusetts, there's always like these different challenges and struggles that come with being a business owner or running a business in different areas. What would you say are challenges that are specific to the Cape with being a business owner down there?
I guess it's maybe isolation, if that's the
Mm.
best word to describe it. I mean, the nearest McDonald's, not that we'd go there, but the nearest McDonald's is an hour away.
Oh my
So
gosh.
yeah, right. So when we were kids, you'd lose your mind when you got to go there because, you never get to go there. But access to resources, and for years it was also access to skill sets,
Oh
because
yeah.
you can't get engineering or high-end technology. Technology itself has eliminated some of that problem, but the isolation is an issue, and you have to be able to be prepared to stand on your own 2 feet and do what you got to do regardless of the situation,
Mm,
because if it goes away, you're on your own.
right. And so, how have you found ways to kind of get around that isolation or prevent that isolation from having too much of a toll on you?
I think the biggest thing is being good at everything you can lay your hands on, or at least having a basic knowledge. You cannot
Mm,
pinpoint. You have to wide cast your interests, because you have to be able to adapt and take care of those problems as they arise. And
right.
so, if the computer breaks, you don't call the guy. You peck away at it until you get it done and it works again.
Yeah, absolutely. And so, with Provincetown, what would you say is your favorite part about being in that area?
Oh, aside from being incredibly beautiful, and just every night is a different experience. If we go to Sunset, for example, and we go to the local beach, I've been going to that local beach and watching sunset for 50 years, and every night it's an incredible experience. And if I went away to the other side of the world and came back, I could still drive to that beach and I'd still see people I know parked there watching sunset at night.
Oh, that's
So,
funny.
so I think that's a big part of it, is adapting to your environment. It's so beautiful, and people are so close and so kind that it really makes an impact on you.
Absolutely. And not just with Massachusetts, but really all over the world. Sometimes people who are tourists kind of get like a bad rep with visiting a community. But from the friends that I've had who have gone to Provincetown, they say that it's been one of the most welcoming areas for them, from whether they're coming out of state or even coming from another part of the state. And so I'd love to hear if there's anything that you do specifically to kind of welcome any tourists that might be coming from outside areas, or just making them feel at home.
I think it's just a basic tenet of the hospitality industry. Our guests
Mhm.
are our livelihood, and we treat them as friends and family. As a result, we see them come back year after year. But Provincetown in general is a very welcoming place. It has a reputation as such, well earned, and you can truly be yourself here, and that attracts a lot of people, whether they come for the summer
Right.
or come for the day. So you can be yourself and have a lot of experiences, whether you want to go into history or whether you want to go into nature, or you just want to go and experience something new, or something that you've never tried before. There's a lot of options here, and I think that's an attractive component that brings people to Provincetown.
Definitely. And in addition to Sunset Beach, what are your other favorite spots in the area to visit?
We have amazing bicycle trails here, miles and miles and miles of bicycles that you can either walk or ride your bike. But you can be in the center of town, and in 5 minutes, you can be in complete isolation out on the dunes, or a wooded patch somewhere. And I think that really makes the difference. It's so close, yet you can be so far. It's really up to you.
Yes, especially for people who are really active, if they're visiting, it's a great way to explore the area. Ultimately, I with some friends that I've had who've gone, they've brought their bikes and kind of used their bikes to travel all around the place.
Yes, we've recently added golf carts to Provincetown, and you can rent golf carts now, and you can explore that way as well. And so there are all kinds of different ways, whether you need a little help with your mobility, so you do the golf cart. If you're more an active person, you can ride your bike. If you're a less active person, maybe you just want to take a walk. But there are so many opportunities around every nook and cranny. There's always something interesting or different, and I think that's part of the appeal.
Absolutely. And for someone who might be interested in starting a business on the Cape, whether it's Provincetown specifically or just any other part of the Cape, what advice would you have for them with getting started?
I don't think it's any different here necessarily than it would be with anywhere else, other than the fact that you might want to just do more research on your availability, what's available to you, so that you do have the necessary resources that it takes to run your business successfully.
Mhm.
But there's a lot here and a lot of diversity, so you can tap into that as well.
Definitely. And the Cape, of course, is known for many of its delicious seafood restaurants. What would you say sets the three that you work for apart from others?
I think it's a commitment to quality. I mean, a lot
Mm.
of people say that it's a buzzword, and it's easy to say, especially when it comes out of the marketing guy's mouth. But when you but when you see people who have been working here for so long and are so committed to their jobs, and so, what the result of what they do is so important to them. Like, for example, if we get a nice review that mentions somebody by name, I print it out and I hand it to that person directly, and I post it on a bulletin board so all of our staff can see it. And people
That's nice.
they take tremendous pride in the fact that people recognize their work, and they work even harder as a result because they want the quality of their service or whatever service they're performing to be recognized. It's important to people to do well.
Right. And especially seeing all of those great reviews, like you said, it really makes the employees feel great. But then it also for people who might haven't gone to the restaurant yet or might not have visited yet, it helps them to show that it's a great choice to try because they're seeing all of these wonderful experiences.
The beauty of the review system, even though it's easy to be anonymous and throw darts from behind a screen,
Yes.
the beauty of it, the best part is the fact that people can reach you directly. And if you've had a great experience or not, you can comment on it and you'll know that somebody's going to hear you and a response will be generated regardless. If it's something bad, we'll fix it. If it's something good, we tell everybody, hey, this is great and you should experience it yourself.
Yes. And that's one thing that I think the restaurant industry in particular, and I guess hospitality overall, is subject to, which is unfortunately receiving bad reviews. And so, what advice would you have for other people who work in the restaurant industry when they do receive a bad review for being able to rectify the situation that happened and help to retain that customer or at least mend things as it is?
I think it's really important to listen to the customer, first of all. It's their experience. It might not be your experience, but it's their experience. So when
Right.
someone says something is good or bad or indifferent, you have to listen to them and respect their experience and then respond accordingly. If there's a certain percentage of people who are going to love it no matter what you do, there's a certain percentage of people who are going to hate it no matter what you do. But you have to encompass all your guests and make sure that they feel comfortable and get the best experience. And when they don't, you have to respond accordingly. And when they do, you have to recognize it and share that with your employees so that everybody's all feels like they're making a contribution and they hold themselves accountable on both sides of the coin.
I think that's a great approach, especially too with Facebook groups specifically. That's one thing I see where if someone unfortunately has a bad experience at a restaurant, I notice a lot of times the first thing they'll do is go to a Facebook group and talk about their experience rather than going to the manager or whoever the right person might be first to help rectify the situation and talk it out. They kind of tend to go to almost bashing first. And so what would you say is something that you do to kind of get past that, ensure that that one person's words or experience don't almost mud in the waters for everyone else?
That's a really good point. You have to balance it out like anything else, I suppose. Some people, like I said, are not going to be happy no matter what you do. Others are going to love it just because they're happy to be out and about and enjoying the experience. So if you give validation on both sides of it and understand that people do have bad experiences or, maybe something did happen. You can't just dismiss it and think, well, I'm always perfect and we're always doing a great job. We strive to do a great job every time, but if something happens, you have to recognize the fact that you're human. Mistakes do get made and correct them. It's not a fight with your customer. It's understanding their experience and making it better. And if someone has something negative to say, you want to carry that forward so it doesn't repeat itself and then it doesn't become a trend, which is much worse than one person having a bad experience.
Yes, you're absolutely right. And especially being able to, on the receiving end, kind of take the emotions out of that review and maybe giving yourself some time before responding. So that way you're not responding with a bunch of emotion and just kind of using that as a learning experience moving forward.
That's a great way to put it. Emotionally, you work so hard, and when someone says something bad about your labor of love, you immediately react, and you can't because it's definitely could be legitimate. So it's not necessarily that person just having a bad day and taking it out on you or whatever. So
Yes.
I think respecting the other person, respect is a word we use a lot around here, and I think the respecting your guests and their opinions is just as important as respecting anyone else.
Exactly. And so you mentioned that with Provincetown being such a tight community and the different collaborations you've had with other organizations in the area, do you ever do anything with the islands, Martha's Vineyard and Nantucket, or do you kind of stay on Cape?
We kind of stay on Cape. They seem to be their own they got their own thing going on out there and they seem a little separate. And everyone groups the Cape and Islands together. But when you're here, Martha's Vineyard and Nantucket, and I've been to both, and they're both lovely places, and their people there are great, but they're distant in a certain respect, if that makes any sense.
Absolutely.
They're doing their own thing, and to get on the ferry and head over there, it's another world in a way.
Right. And I think that's one thing that makes Provincetown so special is that it is different from those islands. Like you said, it can't really be grouped together. And so it's nice having that differentiating factor that might drive more people to visit P-Town and experience it for themselves.
Yes, exactly. P-Town has a reputation of being a place of freedom and freedom of expression, and
Mm,
people really feel that very strongly when they're here, and it's encouraged as we go along everywhere we go, because we want people to come here, be themselves, and enjoy, and the rest takes
right.
care of itself after that.
Yeah, absolutely. And with the three businesses that you manage, are you a part of any type of professional organization like the Provincetown Chamber of Commerce or anything similar to it?
Just about all of them.
I can imagine.
In each of our towns, it's important to participate and support those organizations because they support you. And we know all the staff members, we know them personally. We have for years as they've migrated from other businesses into those positions. A lot of us volunteer, like I'm on the Portuguese Festival Committee.
Oh, nice.
Tim McNulty, who owns our restaurants, he's also on the Portuguese Festival Committee. So we contribute to the community and the community gives back to us.
Absolutely. And what would you say in addition to that, in addition to having that mutually beneficial relationship with organizations, why do you think it's important for businesses in P-Town to be a part of organizations like that, whether it's the Chamber of Commerce or anything else that's happening in the area?
I think it's the power of the collaboration, everybody
Mm,
working together towards the same goal. We all want people to come here. We all want them to have a great time. We want them to eat in our restaurants and patronize our businesses. So we support those organizations and the businesses that belong to them because they support us in return. I'm not shy about recommending if you're not up for the lobster today, we're not shy about recommending someplace you might enjoy or another adventure you might take while you're here, because I know those people are on the other side going, hey, if you're not up for what I've got, go see Mike. He's got this.
mm. And I think that's nice of just being able to send people back and forth and focusing on community over competition, which is one of my favorite mindsets and favorite approaches, is that knowing that there really is no true competitor, it's everyone coming together with one common goal.
It's exactly right. There's a lot of negativity in the world, and we're all about the positivity. We try and look at the silver lining to every cloud because we want that sort of mentality to permeate our businesses. We want everybody to be happy. If your staff is happy and motivated, your guests will be happy and it will show up.
Right. And for our listeners, at the time of this recording, it's the end of June, which does fall in line with Pride Month, which is a really big celebration and event that takes place all month long for P-Town. And I'd love to hear how, with the businesses that you have, how you've been able to participate in that, support the community, and anything interesting or really exciting that you've seen come from it.
Well, we do have every year now, the last couple of years, the local radio station WCOD on Cape Cod has a Pride Month celebration, and they started off by broadcasting live from our dining rooms. So we had them here on our
Wow.
main operation on Commercial Street in Provincetown at the Lobster Pot. We had them from 6 a.m. to 2 p.m. live from the dining rooms, and they hung signs outside, and people come in and they had giveaways, and it was constant generation of come visit us and we're here now and that type of thing. So we got heavily involved with that, and it's become very popular, and local businesses come into our restaurant so they can be interviewed on the air and that sort of thing. But that would be one good example.
Yeah, and I can imagine that's great visibility for you if they're in there from 6 a.m. to 2 p.m. within the dining hall, just being able to showcase the restaurant and all the support that it provides during that time.
It's true. It creates a really nice vibe in the dining room because they're not overly, loud or any of that kind of thing. We set them up in a nice spot, and so you can sort of get the vibe of the live event and the fact that there's a lot of people listening without it being a distraction to your dining experience on that day.
Absolutely. And I can imagine that being on Cape and being in such a close community that there are many local businesses that you love to support. And so if you had to choose a few, what would you say are your favorite?
Well, one of my favorites is Arts Dune Tours, which is right around the corner. They take people out onto the province lands and the sand dunes and the back beaches, and they've been going since 1946, and it's another family business. And the owner went to high school. He was in my class in high school, and so we're good friends, and we go back. So Arts Dune Tours for sure, and that gives you an experience where they take you out in the dunes and teach you about the history and lore of Provincetown and the land itself.
Mm.
And then right around the corner, another friend of ours that we play golf with all summer long has a hot dog stand called John's Footlongs. And they have foot-long hot dogs and French fries, and they're just the greatest when you want a quick snack as you're driving off to wherever
Oh,
you're going to head
sounds
out for the
delicious,
day.
especially during summer and this time of year when it's cookout season.
Exactly.
A common theme that you shared throughout this conversation is family-owned businesses and how the people that you work with and collaborate with have been in Provincetown for decades. And so I'd love to hear kind of you share your experience and perspective on the importance of kind of supporting local and staying local. So if you're in Provincetown, shopping in Provincetown and giving back to the community that way.
Um, yes, it is important to give back to the community, and we do value the local businesses and the relationships that we've created with those people, because like I said, we went to school with them. We grew up as kids. We played sports together. We played Little League. We played youth hockey together. We played, all these things, and you become integrated into their families and they become integrated into yours. So their success is your success. So
Right.
we're not shy about lending support, even to our competitors, because it always comes back in a positive way.
Absolutely. And if you're not on Cape, are there other parts of Massachusetts that you personally like enjoying and traveling to and kind of maybe doing a day trip or anything?
Well, I went to Emerson College, so I love going back to Boston and experiencing how Boston has changed over the years. That's always fun. And then out in Western Mass, the orchards and things like that are beautiful in the fall. It's a nice trip to go out to Western Mass and pick some apples and come back home, bake some pies, and take advantage of the beauty of the natural resources that are so close, but that aren't fish or lobster that we have plenty of.
Exactly. Different dining.
Yeah, absolutely.
And what would you say are things that might be coming up in the future for the businesses that you manage? Is there anything exciting you can share, or maybe future plans that you might have? Just kind of would love to hear anything that's in the works.
Sure. Our main restaurant's called the Lobster Pot, and that's a sit-down experience, and right on the water, Harbor View, that sort of thing. But our satellite restaurants, the Lobster and Chowder House in Wellfleet and the Lobster Pot Express in Provincetown, those are both quick service, so lobster rolls and that sort of thing. So in Wellfleet, we are adding entertainment. We had started last year with our entertainment, but this year we have an even more expanded entertainment schedule. So we have live music. We have a car show coming up with classic cars. We try and involve local artists and local performers in our business to extend it and create more buzzword about our place. But at the same time, we're supporting them, they're supporting us, and continuing that theme.
Yeah, absolutely. And support is huge, especially from a local standpoint, with just being able to what you give ends up coming back a million times more is what I find. What goes around comes around ultimately.
It's true. And their successes, like I said, are ours. For example, one of our performers who is on the patio regularly out there in Wellfleet was on American Idol.
Oh,
Natalia
wow.
Bonfini, right? So, she didn't win or anything like that, but she's carrying the message, and she's got Cape Cod, stamped over everything she does, and she's a hometown girl. So when we bring her into our place to sing, everybody turns out to see the hometown girl who made good. And now we're happy because we have more people there, but they're happy because she's there, and it just creates a vibe that can't be dismissed.
Yes, absolutely. Well, Mike, this has been such an awesome episode, and I've enjoyed really learning about everything that you're doing because you have your hands in so many fun and exciting projects. And I'd love if you could share with our listeners where they can find any of the businesses online in case they'd like to connect further.
Sure. In Provincetown, it's ptownlobsterpot.com. And in Wellfleet, it's lobsterandchowderhouse.com or lobsterchowderhouse.com. You can reach them on either one.
Perfect. And I will link to those in the show notes so that way they can click through and connect with you from there. But thanks so much again for coming on the show today.
It's my pleasure. Thank you for having me.